All right, first of two editions for Athlete Builder. We want to go over a couple of things, and one of the things we're about is having guests on, finding out their life stories, what makes them tick, what makes them great, what makes them hurt, and how they adapt. So last year we talked about Lucas and his prep going into the Arnold, and after the Arnold occurred, we wanted to revisit it and go over that. So I'm never going to be at Lucas's level. I try hard, but he's way too good looking and turns out 20 plus years younger, but that's all right. But I had the New York City SEAL swim, and so we want to talk about that today. So I got my guy Lucas, and I'm your host Jim Beebe. With we're just a two-person duo team here for this episode and the next one. So Lucas is going to be calling the shots, asking the questions, and want to give some insights about why the swim. And so this whole episode is everything leading up to the event itself: the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, and the how. And so it's going to be, short and sweet, but we want to get into a couple different things and get after it. So I'm going to let Lucas take it away, and he's going to be in control. So my man Lucas.
That's what I'm talking about. I've been waiting almost 2 years for this
Right.
to lead the show. Hopefully it'll be all right. Um,
Hopefully.
so you did the seal swim.
Hmm.
For all our listeners and everybody that pays attention, some of them might have seen the episodes beforehand where we talked about it. But recap and kind of let us know again, what is the New York City SEAL swim?
Gotcha. So this is year 6. It's Bill Brown's baby. Bill Brown is a retired Navy SEAL. We had Kenny Bigby on, another SEAL, and then he introduced us to Bill. And Bill runs this event, and it's a huge fundraiser. It's for the Navy SEAL Foundation. Money goes there, and then it goes right to the families that have lost SEAL soldiers or sailors in the line of duty, and they get compensated by the military for sure. But there's things that they miss out on, so the money goes towards that. Camps, a lot of educational things, just supporting the families themselves. They call them Gold Star families. So this it's a big fundraiser. There's a number of events that the Navy SEAL Foundation does every year, but this one's in New York City. It's in August. You start over in New Jersey at a state park right across the Hudson River, and awesome event just to begin with. And the memorial has these two walls that line you. They make a tunnel that face the World Trade Center, and all the names on the walls are people that died in the line of duty uh, at 9/11. And so there's a lot of thanks going on. There's families that are come out. There's the Star Spangled Banner, and there's all these current SEALs, former or retired SEALs, Marines, firefighters, police officers, and then civilians or patriots. And we show up and we hang out there and do all the pomp and circumstance, have a great time. And then we do a 2 mile run over to this other part of the park called the flags. They have all the state flags. And there we watch these uh, parachuters drop down from overhead, and we form a circle, and they landed between us. They're carrying an American flag. It's awesome stuff. Now it's time to work. After that 2 mile run, we hydrate real quick and fuel up. We make our way over to this bridge where we insert, and we jump into the Hudson River, and we start swimming. It's about a 30-minute swim, about a mile to the Statue of Liberty. There's a barge that's anchored right there. You swim up to the barge, you climb out. There are these extension ladders to get out of the water. You climb up the extension ladders, up onto the barge, and you're good to go. Then on the barge and all these different stops along the way, they do these honor workouts where you do 100 push-ups and 22 pull-ups. The 100 push-ups just because 100 is a good round number and it's hard. 22 is unfortunately daily. There are about 22 suicides for military veterans. So we want to bring awareness to that. So we do our 100 push-ups, 22 pull-ups, rehydrate, jump off the barge again, and back in the Hudson River. And now we're swimming to Ellis Island. It's about a half-hour swim, about another mile. You get there, you climb up, push-ups and pull-ups, same deal. And then now you have your last swim. It's about a mile and a half to Manhattan because you got to get across the river all the way. We swim there. You get out, and you do another mile run to the World Trade Center, another set of push-ups and pull-ups, and then you're done. There's some more speeches. You hang out at the World Trade Center at the memorial. You put flags uh, in the memorial itself. And when we do run, each of us is carrying an American flag. So just bring awareness, peaceful protest essentially, but that it's, hey, it's cool to be a patriot. It's cool to support the military. It's for some it's trendy not to, but we're saying it's trendy to support the military. It's trendy to pledge allegiance. It's trendy to support the country. So we want to bring awareness, and we're going to do these honor workouts, and that's the whole day itself. You start early in the morning. You register about 8 o'clock, and you probably finish around 3:30, 4 o'clock. Then we have a big party afterwards. So that's the event in itself in a nutshell.
I know you like to support the military and first responders and stuff. You do a lot of that at your gym already,
Hmm.
the way it is. Um, kind of a long time coming. Um, last year you went and watched it. You didn't partake, but you went and watched. But how did you get to the point where going from watching, first of all, who got you to go and watch it? How'd that come about? How'd you go from hearing about it to watching it to actually doing it? Kind of tell us about that little process that's taken probably about 2 years, 2.5 years to come about. So
Yeah, we had Kenny on 2 years ago, and then a few months later we had, Bill, and then he introduced us to Jeff Gum, and then Mike Getka. So yeah, you're right. At my gym, we're finishing up our 13th year, and we've done Murph 13 times. So another military fundraiser, also with the Navy SEALs. Uh, we've also supported the Sheriff's Department, the Army, it's breast cancer, etc. But that's a good point. So I have I don't know if it's a problem or a weakness, but I have a thing, I guess I'd say, where someone asks me for help, I almost always say yes.
yeah,
I almost always say yes, right or wrong. And Bill's like, Bill Brown, he's like, come on out, Jim. And I'm like, bro, there's no way I could swim it. He's like, that's okay. Just come on out and support and participate. And if you're a participant, you're supposed to raise 2 grand. That's a minimum. If you want to participate that day, you raise 2 grand. So last year I raised the money and went out, but I didn't do anything. I just wanted to be there and see the whole thing and just be supportive. And so that was last August. But thinking I'm going out there in August and knowing how I am, because he asked me to already participate, and I said no. I thought, well, maybe if I gave myself a long enough runway, 14 months, I could learn how to swim and then make it happen. And then when you go out there, I'm taking notes. I'm kind of assessing things, trying to figure out what I'm actually have to be good at doing and learn. And you kind of catch that bug. You're like, oh my God, what a huge event. What an awesome thing. And so for me, and when I tell a lot of my friends, family, and athletes and people we coach, is that it's when you make a decision, a major decision, that for me, you know, life changes, things change. I used to be in the habit where I would make a decision, but then kind of like remake it every day. Like I made a decision to be healthier, but every day I would remake it. Oh, am I going to work out today or not? Am I going to work out today or not? It's like you're remaking this decision. When if you make it once and you know you're not going to break it,
yeah.
then you just got to make it once.
You leave
The
no
heart,
room for negotiation.
you don't, because once you make that first decision, then all the other decisions kind of go away.
Yeah.
They'll follow naturally. And so the hard part is making that first one because it's a huge commitment. But once you do, you're resigned to the fact, hey, I'm seeing this all the way through. You do that enough times, that becomes part of your identity. And so I decided last June that the following August, 14 months later, that I was going to do the event. And I thought long and hard about like what it would take, the whys behind it, and I finally decided, yeah, I'm going to go all in and I'm going to do it.
I remember you talking about it, and I remember me personally. I've known you for a while, and you've never been one to be a big swimmer, that's for sure. Um, you know, lifting heavy things for sure.
Right?
Swimming, I think I told you I just didn't know if that was in your cards, man.
Right?
you know,
Yeah, you, Dan Brown, and a few others. And if I were sitting there looking at me, I would say there's no way in hell. 'Cause if you know me, yeah, you're right. Lifting heavy, like not everyone, a lot of people know I was 320 pounds competing in strongman, and in a match is not like a big deal, but I'm still heavy
yeah,
and lifting up heavy stuff. And I learned how to swim as a kid, but that's it. It's
yeah.
been 40 years. And so to sit there and say, hey, yeah, I'm going to swim across the Hudson River with these Navy SEALs and do a bunch of push ups and pull ups, and you got to be looking across thinking, oh, that's nice. Okay. Pie in the sky guy, right? So the odds would have been on your favor that there's no way it's going to happen because I didn't know how to swim
Right.
very well and it was way too big. But I started writing down these whys and then started tracking things.
So, I don't know if a lot of people know, like you had to quit strongman powerlifting stuff for health reasons, right?
So yeah, so I could still lift, right? I can still
Yeah.
do things, but when you lift super heavy, and it's relative. If
Yeah.
your max is 200 pounds and you're maxing out 200 pounds, and that's heavy. When you lift heavy for yourself, typically you hold your breath
Yeah.
and you hold it in your diaphragm, but sometimes people hold it in their face a little bit too much,
Yeah.
and it creates that cranial pressure, that pressure inside your cranium, so that pressure inside your brain.
Yeah.
Well, I had a blood clot, which puts me on these blood thinners.
Hmm.
And so if my blood's already thinner and I have this pressure inside my brain, then the blood could start leaking out through the vessels.
Yeah.
And if that happens, then you're going to stroke out and you could die, right?
Right. Right.
So knowing that, I just don't lift that heavy anymore. I don't try to
Yeah.
max out. I still lift 3, 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Want to be healthy, but I'm not maxing out for, even for my level. Um, because yeah, you can't do those things. And then if you can't be lifting that heavy, there's really no point in being 320 pounds. So
Yeah.
I quit eating as much. I don't need to maintain that level of mass, and then weight start coming off because you change your
Yeah.
lifestyle.
So you changed, you changed a lot about your training, probably not planning to change a whole lot, but you changed some things, some dietary things probably as well. So you change all this stuff about your diet, your training a little bit differently, and then
Mm-hmm.
you decide to start swimming.
Mm-hmm.
And how how'd that first swim go?
It's funny. So I got this little journal, right?
Yeah.
And I'll come back to my whys here in a second. But I wrote down every day I swam. So I'm at day like 199 or 200. And so here it is, June 14th, 2024. I swam 10 lengths. Each length was 25 meters. I rested after each length. And I wrote down, I sucked, smiley face. Tom is the lifeguard there.
Yeah.
And he goes, I walk in, I introduce myself. I'm Tom. He says he's Tom, I'm Jim. And he goes, hey, did you recently retire? I'm like, no. I know I got a white beard, but I'm 49 years old. I own my own gym. I can work out. And he goes, well, don't go having a heart attack on me on day one. Well, I'm like, all right, dude, I will write that down. And I wrote that down in my notes, and those 10 lengths, after each one, I had to rest.
Yeah.
And I wrote down, I'm at the bottom, but happy I'm on the path. And then I finished that, and I went to the gym because it was a day I normally lift. So I made sure I
Yeah.
got my lifting in. And that was day one. It was 10 lengths, 250 meters. It was literally the bottom.
How did your how'd your knowledge, and we'll get to the end of, I kind of want to go through the process of where you started,
Yeah.
how your evolution as a swimmer, as an athlete, how did that affect you mentally, and what'd you learn from swimming? You know,
Yeah.
talk us through that, and all the way up until you had to start switching it, because I know at one point you had to start swimming in a lake,
Yep.
right, to prepare for that river. So take us through that evolution.
Well, when you're doing something that sucks, you got to have a real strong why. And these days I'm getting ready to swim, I'm like, man, this sucks. This sucks. And I'm like, why am I doing this? So I had on page like three, on page two was like what it is, and page three is like, why am I doing this? And it was, in any random order. Like one is for my kids, my three and Jen's three, or my wife, also to glorify God. I'm here on this planet to glorify Jesus. Those are top three. Bill Brown, a Navy SEAL, asked me to help him. There's number four. I wrote down to prove I'm still going strong at 50 years old, to prove others that said I couldn't do it, improve my overall capacity, my heart, my health. I always admired the military, the Navy SEALs, wanted to just participate with something with them. It's a huge challenge. I wrote down also, I'm afraid of this, and I was, right? I want to handle a fear. Um, Another huge piece, not for nothing, with athlete builder and what we're trying to do here. I want to show people, hey, what we do here, how we coach athletes mentally and physically, it works. And to prove it, I'm going to take someone who's 50 years old, who's never done a sport before in his life, and get him to a level where he actually can hold his own with some high level people. So those days that sucked, and that was almost all of them, really almost all of them, because it wasn't until 2 weeks prior to the swim where I thought, okay, I think I can do this now.
Yeah.
So most of these days, I would have to remind myself of this,
Yeah.
of my whys. And so the next day was, or the next page, I have a page there to track every day I swam and any kind of personal record I had that day. So the next week, I think I started on a Friday. Yeah, I started on a Friday because that's when I decided. Most people will wait till a Monday. I'm like, well, I decided today I'm not going to wait. I'm starting on Friday. The following Monday was day two. And when I swam Monday, and I want to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So by day three, Monday and Wednesday, that's 2 days out of 1 week. I'm like, well, I'm already better than last week, so I'm swam 2 days.
Yeah.
And I got a third day. I'm like, now I PR'd again. I swam 3 days this week. Last week was one. The next week I did 4 days. So anytime I could have any kind of personal record,
Yeah.
I had to note it because if you're going through James Clear's Atomic Habits, he wants you to he wants you to have habits that are satisfying. That was step 4
Right.
for him. And if you see progress, if athletes can see progress, quantify progress, if I can see that myself, and I believe this to be true, and I tell people this, well, why don't I track my progress so I can see things that are encouraging
Yeah.
to help my psyche? 'Cause I have to kind of brainwash myself like, hey, man, I'm doing better. I'm doing better. So if I swam more than 250 meters one day, that was a new PR.
Hmm.
So I was tracking anytime I did more volume or I did a longer swim without resting. Because it used to be I would worry about just getting to the end of the pool and not having enough air and fall apart. I want to make sure I'm swimming near on the one of the lanes so that the side lane was actually the wall. I
Yeah.
didn't want to swim in the middle part of the pool. I was nervous about that. The pool has a deep end, so I would either have to hold on or I would be tired from holding on when I would rest at that end. So I
Yeah.
would stand on the ladder to kind of rest. So some days I was like, my first coach I had was Brock Kinneman. He would have me starting swimming like sets of 50 meters or 75. I'm like, oh man, it's 75-meter sets. These are long sets for me today.
Yeah.
And now as I'm driving into the pool, I'm starting to dread what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, here we go again. So then I would go back to my brainwashing tactic where I would just put on some motivational music
Yeah.
or motivational montage of Jocko and David Goggins screaming at you. And I'm
Right.
trying constantly having to fight my way through to kind of build some momentum where I'm thinking, all right, this week was better. I improved. And I kept tracking every little win. And I had to play every little mind game just to get right because I was like, man, my God, this is overwhelming. The hard part also is that when I would be mentally weak, I would be swimming and I'd be like, do a 300-meter day or a 500-meter day. And I'm like, how am I going to do 3.5 miles?
Yeah.
That's over 5,000 meters. So I started thinking about something that's over a year away.
Hmm.
And I'm like, Jim, what would you tell an athlete? Be present, be in the moment, focus on the next step, just get this next rep done. So I'm constantly having to coach myself, hey, do these things because, like everybody else, I'm not like impervious to those feelings. Everyone feels that same way. I got to talk myself through the exact same thing and not think too long term and just keep at it.
So, what was the longest distance you were able to go without stopping during your training throughout this whole
Well,
time?
so I remember the first goal was to get to 500 meters. For
Yeah.
me, that was a big deal. Then the next goal was to get to a mile, which I did on my wife's birthday. That was November 8th, right? So 5 months to get to a mile. And it wasn't without stopping, but it was getting the whole mile done.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, oh my God, I made a mile today. I'm gonna go home on my wife's birthday. I made it. I swam a whole mile. So each week I would add more distance, and finally, around the first of the year, I got comfortable. I think, you know what? At a slow pace, I can keep going.
Okay.
But it took at least 6 months to have some comfort, think, hey, I can keep going if I go at a slow pace. And then if I went at a little bit faster pace, maybe I need to rest, but you kind of just build up your speed then. By the end, July 22nd this year was when Kenny had to test
Tested you,
me.
right?
He had to test you. So you can't just go and show up for the swim event. You got to actually be
Yeah.
tested and qualify. So we started off with a 2 mile run and then a bunch of push ups and stuff. And then threw me in the pool and he goes, all right, so you're tested. You got to swim 3 miles without stopping.
Okay.
So it's just under 2 hours for me. He's like hour 45, hour 50. And he's sitting there just clicking. Yeah, I brought him a little lap clicker.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting there and just click, click. And after a while, you kind of freak. It's hard to keep track. Hey, was that lap 41 or was that lap 42? So
Yeah.
you had to do 96 laps. I did 97. Thought I did 96, and he shows me the thing. Hey, you actually did one extra. So
Nice.
it was just a little bit over 3 miles straight,
Okay.
and after the run. So that was a huge day for me.
So
Huge day.
10, so you went from 10 links in the pool to 3 miles.
3 miles, yeah. So 10 lengths, 5 down and backs to 96 unbroken down and backs.
And I'm sure you learned how to swim. Probably you learned the skill of swimming, I'm sure.
Well, I
Yeah.
learned it when I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
And then I started working with Brock. But he's a college swimmer and he had to go back to school.
Hmm.
So it's a little humbling that I got this 22-year-old telling me what to do. I'm a 50-year-old coach,
Yeah.
but I don't know what he knows. So he's clearly the coach and I'm not. So I'm just back to being the athlete. And so I had him for a while, but he went back to school. So he would program for me, but I needed someone else. So Teresa Coulter at the Y,
Yeah.
uh, old lady like I'm an old guy, right? And
Yeah.
but she knows her shit, and she wouldn't sugarcoat things. I'm like, hey, I don't have time for sugarcoating. Tell me
Yeah.
what's wrong. So she'd work on my stroke, work on my breathing, my kick, teaching me breaststroke so I can use that for sighting, side stroke, swimming on my back so I can recover. Had to learn all these things, and so one, you have to build up your capacity, but you got to be better at it so you're not killing yourself being really, really inefficient. And thank God for her because she prepared me a ton for swimming in the pool, open water swimming. She even traveled with me to Lake Michigan leading up to. We can talk about the prep at the end, but she really helped me a lot.
Um, what about some of the you already talked about all these other coaches that you had and all these, other people that are involved actually with the SEAL swim. So outside of your coaches, who else around who did you have in your ear? Who was there to support you? What was it like? I mean, I don't know if it's anything like a bodybuilding contest or whatnot, but what was it like living with you, knowing that you're this ex strongman powerlifter guy that's got to go swim tomorrow? Talk about the people around you and how they affected you. What'd you have to avoid? Talk about the things that you had to essentially sacrifice for a little while to make sure that you're attacking these swim goals, and who is around you helping you.
Well, no one gets there alone, right? And together, everyone achieves more kind of deal, the whole
Yeah.
team thing. So, early on, there was Brock and then there was Teresa coaching me. But every time I was at my gym, the coaches that were there were asking, hey, how's the swim coming?
Yeah.
Like Sam, Kelly, Kim. And then when I lift, it's usually with Brian Weiss and sometimes Brian Elsenbrook. They're asking, hey, how's it going? What's the mileage at? Where are we at? And so I'm doing a lot of push ups there on upper body days, pull ups too. And they're constantly asking, where are we at? At home, like not for nothing, not to trivialize it. And in the next episode, when we talk about the actual event, like there is significant risk. It's not like it's a 5K run where you can walk and be fine. Like there's significant risk. They
And you're in
pull
the
about
Hudson nasty river.
nasty river. They pull out about 70 bodies a year out of the river all the time.
Yeah. Not
So,
dead bodies. There's people that can't finish.
yeah, no, really dead bodies.
Oh,
Yeah, not just from the no, yeah, right. So they pull out 70 dead bodies a year from the Hudson for people either killing themselves or getting killed or whatever.
gotcha.
Or
Okay.
people,
All
yeah,
right.
having
Actual
accidents,
bodies.
actual dead bodies. So, yeah, there's an element of risk. And, 50 years old, right? And not one of these trained people that's been swimming their whole life,
Right.
right?
Or
They've been
Navy SEAL.
swimming, yeah, they're swimming decades. I swam 14 months. So, knowing that, honestly, my wife was worried. My family was worried. I was worried because they say, hey, Jim, if you qualify and you go, and even if you like not really sneak in, but if you're really not prepared and you go, well, you could be in real trouble.
Yeah.
Even if your things are going great, there are bull sharks that swim into the Hudson River. Even if things are going great, you can get hurt, right?
Right.
So they have safety precautions for sure. Bill goes way out of his way to do an awesome job making safety precautions. There's boats, there's smaller boats, there's people in kayaks, there's people in jet skis. So you have swim buoys wearing fluorescent color. So if you get in trouble, you're probably not going to die.
Right.
But there's still an element of risk. So one, all my coaches at the gym were, or at least a lot of them were asking me about it. my wife was asking me about it. And Brian even offered, Brian has a small lake pond at his house. I'm like, well, I need some open water swimming practice. He goes, hey, come swim here, which I did.
Yeah.
So having those folks, my own kids, what's going on? And it's not, and when you make that commitment, hey, I'm going to go do this thing. There really weren't days where it was like, boy, I don't feel like swimming. I'm not going to do it. Because
Was
I
there a
knew
day that you didn't?
there was one day,
Okay.
I have it written down, where I got there and I was in my head and I did the minimum, which is 250 meters, because that was what I did on day one.
Okay.
And I did the minimum, I think, or maybe one extra lap, and then went home. And I'm like, I just don't have it today.
Yeah.
And Jen's like, whoa, that's not like you.
Yeah.
That is not like you. So I knew the next day I had to go back and break that streak, because now I have a negative momentum
You're right.
where you kind of like quitting on yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
So the next day I had to go back, make sure I got everything done,
Mm.
make sure I had a better attitude about things, and then did it again, because we want to make sure that, because I had a little setback there. That is real. And I was like, if that happens, like, you knowing how far behind I already was, you
Right.
can't have a whole bunch of little setbacks, or
Yeah.
at least on effort. So if that wasn't going to be there, then I would have known then that, hey, you got to call people and tell them you're not coming.
And did you swim when you were sick? Even then? Even when you were
So
feeling the best?
there were the only days I was really off the hook
Yeah.
was when the pool was closed for like a
Gotcha.
holiday or
Yeah.
for cleaning. If I was sick and I couldn't breathe, then that was a problem.
Yeah.
So on those days, I would just swim on my back
Gotcha.
if I went at all. But if I couldn't really breathe, then it's
Yeah.
now really counterproductive. I usually
Right.
I really just kind of shut things down and
Gotcha.
try to heal. Um, the training did change though. Even before, even I wasn't lifting like for strongman and stuff anymore. I was still lifting 4 days a week. Well, then pretty soon, when you do a longer swim, it takes more time. I
Yeah.
got to get to the gym. I got to coach. I have a life where I got to work for a living, right?
Hmm.
So on Mondays, I had to cut out lifting on Mondays, because those were my long swim days. And
Gotcha.
those swims could last an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's a half hour ride to the pool. So half hour ride to and from the pool, there's an hour, plus a 2 hour swim, there's 3 hours. I
Yeah.
didn't have time to go to the gym for another hour. That's four. Like I got stuff to do.
How did your weight training, like your resistance training, change at all? Did that change
Um,
much?
yeah, so I'm definitely weaker. My
Yeah.
1 rep maxes are down. The high rep stuff was way up. I could do a set of 40 push-ups, almost 50 without stopping.
Right.
So even at 250 pounds, that was quite a bit for me.
Yeah.
But high rep things. So I would do a lot of high rep stuff, a lot of shoulder work.
Yeah.
Um, if I swam a 5K, 5,000 meters, that means I'm doing 5,000 arm circles
Okay.
total. So 2,500 a side, because like about every time you stroke is about a meter. So thinking about doing an arm circle 2,500 times on each arm,
Yeah.
right?
Against
So
some water
some,
resistance.
yeah, so not much, but some.
Yeah.
And so, your neck gets stiff, your traps get stiff. But I'll tell you this, my upper body mobility improved because I'm
Hmm.
doing so many of those circles, right? So
Yeah.
when I would get work done, I would say, oh man, your upper body's a lot loosened up because you do so much of that different range of motion. So
Yeah.
that part was better. Absolute strength was down. Flutter kicks, core strength, through the roof, because you're just kicking for so long.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, talking about kind of segueing into like the end of, we're at the end of your training, your prep, what was like the last couple, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, peak week?
Yep.
How'd that look for you?
That's good. That's a real good question, because up until June, the water it was cold here in Indiana,
Yeah.
so all the water's cold,
Oh yeah.
and we're basically landlocked except for the lakes and reservoirs.
Right.
There's no major body of water unless you're in the northwestern piece, and there's Lake Michigan, or you go all the way down to the bottom of the state, and there's the Ohio River. So you got to wait for the water to warm up some, and I don't have a wetsuit. I've already invested tons of money as it was,
Yeah.
and so I
Wetsuits are
do.
not cheap.
They're not cheap, no, and I had to sign up for some triathlons to do the swim component. so I could be out in open water with people getting pushed and kicked and getting used to what that's like to kind of simulate what I'm going to do come game day. And I'm telling Teresa, my coach, and she's just like, Jim, it's going to be a rude awakening. Don't have high expectations. You're going to be in trouble, but I support you. Go out and go get it. And the first one I did, I wrote down, it's a small little dinky 400-meter swim, something that's at that point not even something I do in a warm up. Like I do more than that in a warm up.
Yeah.
And I'm swimming across this little reservoir, and it was cloudy, so you really can't see. Very, very typical. And I'm in the water, and I jump in, and it was colder than in the pool for sure, but
Yeah.
that really wasn't the problem. And I started swimming, and you just can't see. Your face is in the water, and you
Yeah.
cannot see. So you either got to push your head up, which I don't have the great neck mobility to do that, or you do some kind of modified breaststroke and push your face above the water so you can right the ship and see where you're going. So I'm zigzagging. My 400 meters turns into 600, but I can't go in the right direction. And then I'm just starting to panic. I'm like, I can't go in the right direction. And my default was panic.
Okay.
So most people like to think they'll just rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
That's and what I tell people is that that's not the case. The SEALs will tell you that's not the case. I will tell you personally and professionally that's not the case. You default to your level of training. And
Right.
my level of training in open water was essentially zero, and I
Mhm.
had no process to handle it. So my default was flip over on your back so you're safe and start swimming that way so I can constantly breathe. So of those 400 meters, about 2/3 of it, I'm swimming on my back, just freaked out like a little
That's
bitch.
400 meters.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I get across, Jen's waiting for me, my wife, and she goes, "How was that?" I go, "That was not good. That was not good." I'm back, I could swim fine in the pool, and I was already proud that I could swim fine in the pool. It was such a long journey to
Yeah.
get to that point from one length to 3 miles in the pool. But I'm like, now I'm back to being at the bottom essentially in open water swimming because it's a whole different animal.
Would it safe to say that that was your oh shit moment for this whole
Oh,
process?
oh shit was right, and Jen's like, hey, well, we're not going. We're not going into New York in August unless we get this better. I go, you're right. So that was on a Saturday. We came home, and on Sunday I'm sitting on the deck and I pull out my book here. And at that point I'd actually published the athlete builder planner, so I started
Yeah.
using that finally because my little notebook here wasn't cutting it. And I'm like, all right, I mapped it out. I said, all right, I'm going to swim in open water 2 days a week. I can figure that out logistically, and then in my schedule, I can use Brian's pond. I'm going to sign up for 3 more triathlons, and one has to be long, not just 400 meters. One has to be at least a mile or a mile. And I got to figure out a process of how to swim in open water. So I go to Teresa, my coach, on Monday. I'm like, hey, I sucked. And she's like, yeah, I was worried about that. I go, yeah, I sucked. So what I would do is every Friday and Saturday, Jen and I would head up to Brian's Pond.
Mhm.
It's about a half-hour drive. It's an awesome little lake. And we would just swim lengths back and forth. And 5 down and back there was about a mile. So it's a lot longer than the pool.
Yeah.
And I was starting to figure some things out. And as I got better, Jen, I had to drag Jen with me, so she would be on a paddleboard near me in case I got in trouble.
Yeah.
But after the first couple sessions of doing that, she's simulating chop in the pond as best she can. She's trying to hit me with the paddle or
Yeah.
splash me and make waves with the paddle. And so I'm doing better, but I still, I can't get my head above the water very well. And then I finally get a hold of Teresa, and she teaches me this modified breaststroke. So what I would do is I would do 10 regular strokes and then a breaststroke. When I do a breaststroke, my head comes straight up out of the water. I can totally see where I'm going, and I can just do a little bit of adjustment. I do
Yeah.
10 more strokes. I can look to the side a little bit. No, I'm not getting too far off course, and readjust every 10th. So once I got better at that, and I'm like, okay. So I was doing it 2 times a week with Brian. Did another triathlon. It went better.
Yeah.
Not great, but definitely better. The next small triathlon at Eagle Creek. Then she teaches me that breaststroke. So now I'm signed up for this mile swim in a triathlon,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, you know what? This is okay. And then so when we go back out to Brian's Pond again, I do a mile with my 10 strokes plus one breaststroke over and over again. After a mile, I get out of the pond, do 100 push-ups, drink some water, back in the pond, another mile. I can see fine, do another 100 push-ups. So now I've done 2/3 of essentially the workout.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Okay. Okay. So then I'm like, well, let's get a little bit more chop. Let's get a little bit more, let's have some more problems.
Gotcha.
So I go, hey, Teresa, my wife and I are going to go to Lake Michigan where there's some waves. You
Yeah.
want to go? And she's like, yeah. So she takes time off work to drive 3 hours up to Lake Michigan. And we get in there and we start going. And I bring the little swim buoy like we have in the seal swim. So there's
Yeah.
extra drag. So I get used to that.
Right.
So she's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to swim buoy to buoy, and you can't rest until this buoy. And by resting, you swim on your back. So
Gotcha.
you're still kicking and going, but you get more air in. You kind of
Hmm.
rest for about a minute and a half, and then you
None
get
of
back
that.
at you. So we would swim hard for, I don't know, 500 meters, slip on my back for about a minute, keep still making progress,
Yeah.
and then do another 500s, flip on your back for a minute, do another 500 meters, flip on your back. We do that 3 or 4 times with the drag from the buoy, and I'm like, you know what? This is fine. This is no big
Gotcha.
deal. So now I'm like, you know what? But all that happened in the last 2 months. So I'm already 12 months in.
Yeah.
All those swimming in the pond because we had that, like you said, that oh shit moment.
Right.
Because like we're not ready. And I remember one time I came back and Jen's not to tears, but she's like, Jim, you're not ready, and I'm afraid. And I said, well, we need to do the thing so we're not afraid.
Gotcha.
We have to have enough reps so that we earn the confidence, you and I. So let's do enough hard things so that we're ready. And as best we could, we prepared for the event. And so come that the 13th of August, we're flying out, and I had all my plans written out. Like, here's what we do day of. Here's my goal when I jump in the water. Here's my first 10 links, what I'm trying to do here. Here are my contingencies. I called prior swimmers. I asked, what side's the Statue of Liberty on? Because I breathe on my left side. So if I can see that for reference, I'm
Yeah.
good to go. I called Bill. I said, hey, what fins offer the best help? He said, this offers the best help. I researched these goggles. A lot of goggles fog up. The
Yeah.
goggles I bought won't fog up for hours.
Gotcha.
So I'm talking to all these guys and asking them for what do you do in this situation? What'd you do in that situation? Because they have expertise. And I had to surround myself with those folks and have these phone calls or these Zoom calls and take in all of it. So I gave myself the best shot of just surviving the day. And then we flew out on the 13th and we gave it our shot on the 16th.
Gotcha. All right. Well, just start to wrap things up here. Um, the last thing I guess I'd ask you is with what we try to do with this podcast and Athlete Builder and building athletes and trying to teach the things that we want to teach. What are some of the things that how did you utilize the Athlete Builder model throughout this whole process from start to finish?
Man, I used it almost daily because I had to. I didn't really know any other method.
Yeah.
I've talked to so many coaches and leaders and special forces guys over the years and coached so many people that I don't really know other ways to do it. So train my mindset, how to handle fear by doing things.
Gotcha.
You don't feel like doing something, remind yourself of your whys. You're still fucked up, you have to brainwash yourself a little bit, listen to things that are motivational. But you keep working on your mindset and you try to improve there. Knowledge piece, well, I had two different coaches. I had other guys I've talked to about the different kind of gear. So I had to get smarter on how to swim correctly, how to handle the elements. So I had to take a ton of information there and ask for help. Teammates, I got people at the gym pushing me when we're training. I have a teammate lending me his pond. I have a teammate and a wife keeping me alive out there. I have teammates that are coaching me. I got my own kids supporting me. My wife at those last several months was in charge of all the food, making the food, making sure I had enough protein, making sure I had enough carbs. And we started talking about how many carbs you need before you would swim a long one or in the middle when you're taking a break or afterwards. She's just helping with all of that. So my nutrition came into play. Had to use the coach for increasing my mileage for my training. Still to work on the push-ups and pull-ups. And then in recovery, I just see people to get stronger, or not stronger, my shoulders healthier. So people with MyoFit working on my mobility, my range of motion. I'm tracking my PRs, which helps back with the mindset. I'm tracking all my results so I can see where I'm winning and not winning. I'm having to test myself, see where I sucked, open water, figured out all those weaknesses and constantly hunt for those. So my limiting factors I had to bring up because if you don't fix those, you can't move forward. You need to figure out what you can do really, really well, which is swim on my back or swim for a long time at a slow pace. So you figure out what your strengths are and push that up. Any huge threats, panic was a threat. So I had to put myself in situations where I would be really afraid and handle it. And what my process ended up being there was if I felt that anxiety come on, I would smile and laugh at it. And my phrase was, not today. So I would tell that fear, just, hey, not today. And then immediately go back to my mantra. So my mantra was 10 and 1, meaning 10 strokes and 1 breaststroke, 10 and 1, 10 and 1. So all I thought about was 10 and 1. So when I jumped off the bridge, my first thought was 10 and 1, 10 and 1. So I incorporated all those things and more just so I can make it happen. Because without those 6 components, I wouldn't have qualified. I wouldn't have been there. 100%.
That's a lot of time. 14 months of starting with the needle at empty.
Empty, below empty.
At
Yeah,
zero.
the car wasn't even running. But yeah, it was. You're right. So I'm glad I did. I learned a lot. I'm very proud of it.
What do you think the biggest lesson is that you learned throughout your, not even during the event itself, but what is the biggest lesson you learned during your entire process prior to the event?
Um, I would say a lot of lessons I already knew were 100% reinforced.
Gotcha.
The hard work pays off. It's time and consistency. Um, you did learn that new fears you had no idea you had would show up.
Yeah.
And you had to constantly relearn the fact that if you work through those fears, then you become a lot more resilient. You learn the things that you didn't know you were bad at or you sucked at or whatever. But most of the lessons that we preached were just solidified. And when I would have doubts that, hey, man, maybe what I'm doing here with Athlete Builder, what we are doing, or how we're coaching people, maybe it's got some major weaknesses or flaws. And I'm not saying we don't have flaws and weaknesses, but we don't have major ones.
Yeah.
We really don't. Like this was a comprehensive approach. And when we coach people in this comprehensive way, we aren't leaving things unturned. We aren't leaving stones unturned. We are absolutely relentless at finding problems and then finding solutions. So I was really happy to learn that.
Good. Now, last question.
Mm.
Did you have fun at all?
You know, when I was starting to actually feel like I could do it,
Yeah.
I was feeling some joy. And when I left Lake Michigan that day, I'm like, hey, that was fun. I'm outside doing this thing. This is
Yeah.
actually kind of fun. Uh, a lot of things the day of the event, we'll get that in the next episode. That ended up becoming fun. But to your point, enjoyment is one of our core values. And for a
Right.
lot of it, there wasn't a lot of enjoyment because I was in such a hole, which was self-inflicted.
Yeah.
But I'm still swimming now that the event's over.
I was going to ask that
So
if you're still doing it.
yeah, I enjoy it enough now that even though it was hard then, I found a lot of benefit from it
Yeah.
and sticking with it. So I'm enjoying enough where it's now part of my training program and my identity. So yeah, I'm keeping at it.
All right. Keeping at swimming. All right.
Yes, sir.
Not picking up big stones and swimming in ponds.
That's right.
All
My
right.
man.
Well, that's all I got for you, Jim.
All right, we'll wrap it up in the next one. See you soon.
Absolutely. I'll catch you later, all right?
All right.